welcome to this very important and, need I say, urgent conference at a time, as we well know, of great and growing pressure on democracy and open society.
Now we can argue about definitions, is it rollback, is it backsliding, is it a deficit, or what have you, but I think we all cannot ignore a number of changes, such as the cut down on freedom of the press, xenophobia, the EU's own democratic deficit, corruption and erosion of trust in government, and many failed promises.
Our topic is rolling back, the rollback, which is a typically optimistic topic for an optimistic institution. Hungary is not famous for its optimism, and with good reason. As someone who stood in Hero Square in 1989 when communism was officially and finally buried, I have to express my own astonishment that the intervening 25 years have brought us, well, what we have today, which is a highly questionable democracy, if in fact it is still a democracy.
I do believe that the Hungarian story fits in a broader story of how the magic of national constitutions have faded not only in Europe but also in the US, and how this is partly due to the fact that constitutions did become the victim of their own success in keeping political actors and governments.
If you regard election results in France, if you look at what's happening on the streets of Brussels, you can see that more slowly or more quickly the post-89 period has ended and new things begin, with dangers and hopes that will be definitely different from what it went on before.
I think this conference is extremely timely. After the very, very important elections, and due to my huge interest in Central European politics, this is probably the best time for me to be here in Budapest.
I've got interested in the conference because it exactly reflects the idea of what Ukraine should be thinking of. And coming here, I was expecting to learn how Ukraine could empower further citizenship of Ukrainian people and basically what is Europe about.
I am very disappointed with the way the EU and generally speaking the international community reacted to the Hungarian erosion of democracy. Although I am not the one who really thinks that at a given moment, the international markets and the EU should make order here and teach us again how to use knife and fork when we get our dinner or lunch. Nevertheless, I think that the Hungarian case actually shows the serious limitations on the capacity, will and skill of international actors.
The EU was not set up to be a guardian of democracy. It was set up to be an economic integration, and the community of law is based on a particular purpose, the logic that this is about technical issues and it's about economic integration, which over time will lead to more political integration.
Every single time we allow a country to join the European Union, somebody somewhere makes a call as to whether this country is now a liberal democracy or not. You can say, and I would say, that these processes as they exist, Copenhagen criteria and so on, are deeply flawed. The checklist, approach that says, do all the courtrooms have computers? Check. Do all the lawyers have, 3 years of training? Check. And then in the end there's a huge box that says rule of law, and then you say, check, as well. Deeply flawed, granted. But it's not true that we don't make a call about a political system as a whole.
We were standing there on Maidan waving the EU flags, and I would imagine many people would not even have an idea what the EU means. And what surprised me here at the conference was that many panel discussions, they were rather negative than positive, reflecting many challenging aspects of Europe's development. Since we view Europe as a very positive aim for Ukraine, that's something which I take from the conference.
There's a huge share of the population that has a very conservative and very poor media consumption profile. They're listening to public service media, radio, and nothing much else. And there is a very small segment of very highly immersed and highly digital segment of the population, around 100,000, who are actively consuming all kinds of media, print media, digital media, broadcast media, whom we can reach using various digital technologies.
I was really happy to see a lot of media activists in the room today. I'm actually glad that I'm part of a political movement that is happening right now and that can rely on new technology and new tools that are out there and that hopefully can help us channel opinions and mobilize people.
What's the entry point for somebody who's never done a political act ever before in their lives? How do we bring them in? And that might be in the digital world, it's the Facebook like, it's retweeting something. But there's a journey to take people on. You don't leave them in that world, you encourage them to step into offline action so that they join something.
I think today Front to Back was really a great conference because you could really see this buzz developing throughout the day. While maybe we started a bit pessimistic, sort of hung over from the results of the Hungarian elections yesterday, I think as the day was progressing, the mood was becoming increasingly optimistic, and really in the afternoon we ended on this very positive note with these young actors involved in the working groups creating a buzz and creating this positive energy and moving forward and strengthening democracy and fostering open societies across Europe.
We shouldn't take things for granted. It's time to rediscover democracy. It's time to put democracy back into the hands of the people, and contestation of democracy is not just taking place at the national level, that's what we discussed today, but I think there's also a global contest over democracy that we shouldn't lose sight of and that will keep us busy over the years to come.